Assetto Corsa EVO could be the first ever proper SimCade title. In this video, I'm going to explain why that's absolutely fantastic, and I'm also going to explain why the term SimCade is pretty much always used incorrectly and is effectively a totally useless and stupid term. If you want to be able to unsubscribe, make sure you do subscribe, and you'll enjoy the power of the unsubscribe, and if you feel like it, you can click the like button. So the term SimCade, actually, when you delve into it, really doesn't have much meaning or make much sense. What you've probably come across is the term SimCade being used when people are arguing and they're like, your game's not a real simulator. It's not realistic. It's a SimCade game. You idiot. Why are you playing a SimCade title? You fool. And you've also probably come across it when people are talking about games like Forza Horizon, F1 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. When will they actually make a decent licensed Formula 1 game? I don't know. Where the developer has basically set out to make something that's predominantly an arcade game or a game, but then takes simulator elements or real world elements. So it might have like real world sort of car setup options or real world actual vehicles and real world locations, maybe quite realistic physics, but the goal of the developer is to not actually create a pure simulator. I think that's probably the most appropriate use of the term SimCade. However, when you actually delve into it, what you really find is that actually all the current SimCade games are basically just not very good simulators and are basically either good games or not very good games. The simulator component or the SimCade term aspect of them is utterly irrelevant. And also, rather interestingly, what you'll find is when a game is sort of described as a SimCade, F1 24 for example, or 25, whatever we're on now when you watch this video, when they're described as a SimCade title, whenever someone's critical of the gameplay and it being a bit crappy, the single player not working, AI being rubbish, or it just not being particularly fun for many reasons, people will go, oh, well, you know, it's actually got real drivers working on it, and it's got simulator in it, it's got all these realistic things in it, so, you know, of course the gameplay's not very good. And then if you're critical of the physics or the car setup options or the actual core mechanics and say, well, look, these things really aren't realistic at all, even compared to current or previous simulators on the market, you know, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but like these things are really quite broken, then the developer, marketers and defenders of the game will go, well, yeah, that's because it's a SimCade and it's more about the gameplay. We're playing it for the gameplay aspects, you know, these simulation things. Don't worry, don't focus on that. Focus on the gameplay stuff. And so basically, the SimCade framework ends up being this really good sort of defensive shield against actually breaking down and objectively criticising something. Now, the thing is, though, if you think about it, all racing simulators, iRacing, ACC, rFactor 2, LMU, Assetto Corsa, all of those are still games as well. And they are all essentially SimCade titles. Like, none of those games, or simulators as we call them, none of them actually have literal perfect physics or even close to like ticking off all the basics that would be required to really claim it's a proper decent simulator. They all have mental issues. AC1 has the weird curbing issue. A whole bunch of features missing from races, tyre wear issues. iRacing has like insane tyre model issues at the limit and flash overheating of the contact patch and God knows what netcode issues, mental stuff. ACC lacks like being able to feel what the fronts are doing. It has weird suspension over large bumps. LMU again has some like weird force feedback stuff. Has some like weird like slidey behaviour at times. A whole bunch of things. Obviously, developers are always trying to work on improving things. But also, AC1, it has achievements. It has some AI, not the best. It has things to do in it. It has a user interface. It has a structure. Most people are playing it as a video game. They're not playing it as a pure simulator. iRacing. Most people are playing it to get iRating and to do online racing against people and to memorise a robotic way of driving. But they're not playing it to directly simulate reality. They are playing the video game itself. Get iRating, get safety rated, and feel depressed about your life. LMU, people are playing it to get ranking, be better at that video game, race other people, race AI, have an immersive experience, and just generally immerse yourself in racing. All of these home simulators are effectively being used as video games. They're not really being used by 99% of people using them as actual simulators to actually train for real life. You can use them for that, but that's not how most people are using them, and they do all basically have gameplay mechanics, and they are all being played as games effectively. So really, if you think about it, all of the simulators are actually SimCade titles. The developers are trying to make a game as well as a simulator. They might be trying to make it as realistic as possible, and maybe you could say that developers of a pure SimCade title aren't trying to make it as realistic as possible. But look at Gran Turismo, look at Forza, look at Dirt, the WRC game. Those developers will constantly claim that they're trying to make realistic physics. They have real-world drivers consult on it. Basically, as I say, all of these titles are actually SimCade titles, and as a result, though, all of them are actually pretty bad as SimCade titles. And I think it's quite possible that Assetto Corsa Evo could be the first ever actually decent SimCade title, in that it's quite possible that Kunos will do really good solid physics in it. AC1 actually had many aspects of very solid physics, ignoring some of the curbing issues. Some aspects of ACC physics as well, really quite good. But Evo could really be the first sort of realistic simulator with really like decent single player in it, actual campaign, actual things to do, fleshed out, because Kunos have had a chance to do Netcar Pro, AC1, ACC. You know, they've had the ability to keep developing on it, and unlike Gran Turismo, where they've had the ability to keep developing on it, Kunos seem to actually have been able to get a lot closer to more believable handling, but also a more fleshed out single player and actual things to do. Gran Turismo, the older Gran Turismo's absolutely superb. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking on Gran Turismo single player, and even the type of grindy gameplay it was, I actually think that was fantastic. But the newer Gran Turismo's have actually got worse from a gameplay perspective. Forza, I think Forza Horizon, especially some of the older ones, absolutely superb gameplay. I really personally love them, but the physics are just completely mental. You really designed around a gamepad and stuff, but like still just very limited and a bit janky. I like them as games. Kunos with Evo could potentially, though, I think, create the first game that's a simulator that's also a game that's actually really solid in both regards. The ultimate SimCade, the real SimCade title. So there you go. The reality of SimCade. If you managed to follow through that without having an aneurysm, congratulations. It'll be interesting to know what you guys think. And remember, Evo comes out in early access on the 16th. The countdown is happening. Make sure, as I say, to subscribe. You can watch us live. We'll be covering the launch and everything. But until the next one, guys, Happy tea drinking. Take care. And goodbye.